The Academy's emergency protocols triggered the moment Cadet Zelax made eye contact with the human instructor, and now 3 admirals were screaming contradictory orders, while Dr. Emma Johnson calmly asked if anyone needed their essays graded. Neural compromise detected. Initiate immediate quarantine. Admiral Jataro's voice boomed through every speaker in the facility. Belay that. We need to sedate the human first. Commander Vexthul countermanded from the secondary command center. Both of you shut up. We're evacuating the entire wing. That was High Administrator Kaeldra, her voice cracking with barely controlled panic. Emma stood at the front of her classroom, a stack of student papers in one hand and a red pen in the other, watching armed guards pour through every entrance. Is this a drill? Because nobody mentioned a drill in this morning's briefing. According to YouTube analytics, 99.6% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. Zelax couldn't move, couldn't blink, couldn't look away. The human's eyes, those impossible, terrifying brown human eyes, held him locked in a neural feedback loop that every instructor, every training manual, every veteran soldier had warned them about since day 1 of training. Never look a human in the eyes. Never. Your career depends on it. Your sanity depends on it. Your life depends on it. Too late. He'd glanced up to ask a question about the assignment, and she'd looked directly at him to answer, and now his entire nervous system was convinced he was staring down an apex predator while simultaneously experiencing the most profound sense of being understood he'd ever felt in his life. It was destroying him. Cadet Zelax, please respond. Kaeldra's voice cut through his paralysis. Can you break visual contact? He tried, every muscle in his body strained against the invisible force holding his gaze locked with Emma's. In negative, Administrator, I can't look away. Emma's eyebrows shot up. Wait, what? Just look away. It's not hard. She demonstrated by glancing at her papers, then back at him. See? Easy. The 3 guards nearest to her immediately collapsed, their breathing becoming rapid and shallow. 2 more staggered backward, mandibles clicking in distress. Nobody else look at her! Jataro's command came too late. 4 more security personnel were now locked in the same inexplicable eye contact, their bodies rigid, their faces displaying the same mixture of terror and strange peace that Zelax felt coursing through his system. Okay, seriously, what's happening? Emma looked around the room, and 6 more cadets dropped their data pads, eyes wide, unable to break away from her casual glance. Did I do something wrong? Dr. Johnson, please close your eyes. Kaeldra's voice had reached a pitch Zelax had never heard from the normally composed administrator. This is a Code Crimson situation. A code, what now? Emma squinted at the administrator, who was carefully keeping her back turned. Is this about the eye contact thing? Because I was briefed that it was just a cultural sensitivity issue, not a cultural sensitivity? Jataro's laugh was brittle and sharp. Dr. Johnson, you have neurologically compromised 17 of my cadets and 9 security officers in the last 45 seconds. Emma's face went pale. She immediately squeezed her eyes shut. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Nobody told me it was this serious. The orientation just said, avoid prolonged eye contact when possible, and I thought that meant don't stare at people for too long. Zelax felt the connection waver slightly now that her eyes were closed, but the effect remained. His heart rate, elevated far beyond normal parameters, continued to race. His skin felt too tight. His mind was processing emotional data at speeds his species simply wasn't designed for. And underneath the panic, underneath the terror, he felt something his people had no word for. The certainty that the being before him wished him no harm whatsoever. Cadet Zelax, status report, Kaeldra commanded, her voice steadier now that the immediate threat was contained. I'm experiencing cascading neural feedback, Administrator. Elevated norepinephrine. dopamine and oxytocin, motor control compromised, threat assessment systems overriding but receiving contradictory data. He paused, struggling to articulate the impossible. I feel safe and terrified at the same time. Textbook human eye contact syndrome, Kaeldra muttered. Get the quantum isolation chamber ready. We need to separate them before permanent neurological damage occurs. Permanent damage. Emma's eyes snapped open in alarm, and 3 more guards went down. She slammed them shut again. What do you mean, permanent damage? I'm a literature teacher. I teach poetry. I don't damage people. Dr. Johnson, human ocular contact creates what we call an empathy cascade feedback loop, Kaeldra explained, still carefully keeping her back turned. Your species evolved eye contact as a bonding mechanism. Our species evolved to avoid eye contact as a threat assessment protocol. When a human makes direct eye contact with us, our neural pathways attempt to process it as both a dominance challenge and a trust signal simultaneously. The contradiction causes a system-wide cognitive breakdown. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, Emma said, eyes still closed. You're telling me that looking at people is a weapon? Historically, we've had 847 documented cases, Kaeldra continued. 0 survived with their original psychological profiles intact. Most required complete memory reconstruction. Some never recovered their ability to function in standard society. Emma's voice went very quiet. And I just did this to 17 kids. They're not children, they're military cadets. And yes, you did. Jataro's tone was sharp. This is exactly why we have protocols. This is exactly why humans are supposed to maintain visual barriers during instruction. The orientation. Didn't, Emma's voice cracked. Nobody explained it like this. They made it sound like a politeness thing, not a destroy people's minds thing. Zilax found his voice, though it came out strained. Dr. Johnson, I don't think you're destroying my mind. Every comm channel went silent. Explain, Cadet, Kaeldra said carefully. It's not damage. It's different. Zilax struggled to process the sensory overload. I can feel that she's concerned. Genuinely concerned. For us. For me. Not because we're her students or because it's her job, but because she actually cares if we're hurt. I can feel it. I know it's true the same way I know oxygen is breathable. That's the neural compromise talking, Jataro said dismissively. You're experiencing psychological manipulation at the biochemical level. Then why does it feel like the first honest thing I've experienced in my entire life? Zilax shot back. Another silence, longer this time. Oh, that's new, Kaeldra muttered. That's a new response pattern. What's new? Emma asked, eyes still firmly shut. Usually victims experience pure terror or complete submission. Clarity is, Kaeldra paused. That's not in any of the documented cases. Because maybe, Zilax said slowly, his mind racing through implications even as his body remained frozen in place. Maybe the problem isn't that she's doing something to us. Maybe the problem is that we've never experienced what she's doing before. Elaborate, Kaeldra commanded. Zilax took a shaky breath. When's the last time anyone in this room felt genuinely seen? Not evaluated, not assessed, not judged, just seen, acknowledged as existing, mattering. The silence that followed was deafening. That's, Vexthul's voice came over the comm, hesitant. That's not a standard military training component. No, Zilax agreed. It's not. We're trained to suppress emotional responses, maintain hierarchical awareness, process efficiency over connection. But what if that's exactly why this feels so overwhelming? We've spent our entire lives avoiding the one thing humans do naturally, acknowledging each other's existence with actual attention. Emma made a small sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. You're telling me that basic human decency is a weapon because you guys have systematically removed it from your entire culture? When you say it like that, it sounds absurd, Kaeldra said. Because it is absurd. Emma's shout startled everyone. Her eyes opened, purely by accident. and the entire command staff that had been carefully averting their gazes suddenly found themselves locked in direct visual contact with a furious human literature teacher. What happened next would be discussed in military academies for the next 3 generations. Admiral Jotaro, veteran of 40 years of combat, decorated hero of the Outer Rim conflicts, commander of 3 battle fleets, began to cry. Not the composed, dignified tears of a memorial service. Genuine, gasping, overwhelmed sobs. "I'm sorry," he choked out, his mandibles trembling. "I'm so sorry. To all of you, every harsh word, every impossible standard, every time I told you weakness was failure, I'm sorry." Commander Vexthul sank to his knees. "When did we become so cold?" High Administrator Kaeldra, who had maintained her composure through evacuations, combat situations, and diplomatic crises, stared at Emma with dawning horror. "What have we done to ourselves?" Emma, for her part, looked absolutely terrified. "Okay, I need someone to explain what's happening right now because I'm pretty sure I just broke 3 of your commanding officers and that seems bad." "You didn't break us," Kaeldra whispered. "You reminded us that we were already broken." Zilax finally managed to turn his head, breaking eye contact with Emma. The release was immediate, but the effects remained. He could think clearly now, move freely, but everything felt different. Colors seemed more vivid. Sounds had emotional resonance he'd never noticed before. The other cadets, still frozen in their seats, weren't just bodies occupying space. They were individuals, each carrying their own weight of experience and fear and hope. "How long has it been like this?" he asked quietly. "How long have we been pretending we don't matter to each other?" "Approximately 4,000 years," Kaeldra said, her scientific precision returning even as tears tracked down her face. "We evolved on a world where eye contact with predators meant death. We developed technology, civilization, space travel, all while maintaining that fundamental response. We built our entire culture around emotional distance as a survival mechanism. And humans evolved the exact opposite," Emma said softly, her eyes closed again. "We're social pack animals. We need eye contact to bond, to trust, to feel safe. It's not a weapon. It's how we know we're not alone." Jotaro's sobs had quieted to ragged breathing. The training protocols, the emotional suppression, the hierarchy maintenance. "We thought we were building efficient soldiers." "You were building broken people," Emma said gently. "I'm sorry. I know that's harsh, but—" "No." Jotaro's voice was firm despite the tears. "No, you're right. I can feel it now, the weight of 40 years, of pretending I don't care about the soldiers under my command, pretending their deaths are acceptable losses, pretending efficiency matters more than existence." He looked at the assembled cadets, really looked at them for the first time. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Kaeldra activated her datapad with shaking hands. "I'm calling an emergency session of the Galactic Council. This is bigger than a training incident. If human eye contact can undo 4 millennia of cultural conditioning in under 5 minutes, we need to completely reassess our understanding of interspecies interaction." "Wait," Emma said. "Other humans have been here, right?" "This can't be the first time this has happened." "It's the 848th documented incident," Kaeldra confirmed. "But in every other case, we immediately separated the human from the affected individuals and provided memory reconstruction therapy." "You erased their memories?" Emma's voice went flat and dangerous. "We thought we were saving them from psychological damage." "You were saving yourselves from feeling something real," Emma corrected coldly. "How many humans? How many of my people have you memory wiped because they committed the crime of giving a shit about you?" The silence was damning. "That ends now," Jotaro said quietly. "I'll take full responsibility. This was implemented under my authority. I'll resign, face whatever tribunal—" "You'll do no such thing," Kaeldra interrupted, "because you're going to help us fix this, all of us, starting with these cadets." She finally turned to face Emma directly, meeting her eyes with visible effort. The effect was immediate. Her breathing became labored, her posture stiffened, but she held the contact. Dr. Johnson, I am formally requesting your assistance in developing new protocols, not for preventing eye contact, but for teaching our people how to experience it safely. Emma stared at her for a long moment. You want me to teach an entire species how to look at people? I want you to teach us how to be people, Caldra corrected. How to feel connection without considering it weakness. How to acknowledge each other without triggering panic responses. How to... She paused. How to do what you do naturally. I make eye contact and care about students, Emma said. That's literally my entire skill set. That's just being a teacher. Then teach us to teach, Caldra said simply. Zilak stood up slowly, his legs still shaky. The other cadets were beginning to recover as well, their eyes clearing, their breathing steadying. But none of them looked the same. Something fundamental had shifted. Permission to speak, Administrator, he said formally. Granted. I want to continue Dr. Johnson's class, and I want to maintain eye contact during instruction. He looked around at his fellow cadets. Who's with me? Every hand in the room went up, including Jataro's. Emma laughed, a sound somewhere between hysteria and hope. You people are absolutely insane. You know that, right? You're volunteering for the thing that terrifies you. Fear is data, Zilak said, echoing their training. But so is trust, and for the first time in my life I understand what trust actually feels like. It feels like someone seeing you, another cadet, Relia, added quietly. Really seeing you, not evaluating your performance or assessing your utility, just acknowledging that you exist and that matters. It's called empathy, Emma said softly. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but sure. Let's run the most dangerous experiment in interspecies relations. Let's teach you all how to look each other in the eyes. Over the next 3 hours, working with medical staff and psychological experts, they developed what would later be called the Human Interaction Protocol. It started simple. 1 second eye contact, then 2, then 5. Each cadet worked at their own pace, with Emma patiently explaining the difference between aggressive staring and genuine connection. It's not about dominance, she explained for the 15th time. It's about attention. You're telling the other person, you exist to me. Your experience matters. I'm present with you right now. That's it. That's the whole thing. But that creates vulnerability, Vexthul argued, participating now despite his earlier panic. Yes, Emma agreed. That's the point. Vulnerability is how trust works. You can't build real connections without risk. The military operates on chain of command, not connections, Jataro said, but his voice lacked conviction. And how's that working out for your retention rates, your mental health statistics, your suicide prevention programs? Emma's questions were gentle but pointed. Jataro flinched. Not well. Because you've built a culture that treats emotional honesty as weakness. But emotions aren't weaknesses, they're data. Fear tells you about danger. Joy tells you about value. Sadness tells you about loss. And connection tells you that you're not alone in processing all of it. Caldra was furiously taking notes. This is revolutionary. This is foundational restructuring of our entire psychological framework. This is how humans do therapy with toddlers, Emma said dryly. You guys have somehow managed to build an interstellar empire while maintaining the emotional intelligence of a particularly anxious 3-year-old. Despite everything, several cadets laughed. Real, genuine laughter. Did they just... Vexthul stared. Did they just express amusement in a military training setting? Yeah, it's called having a personality, Emma said. You should try it sometime. By the end of the session, Zilax could maintain 30 seconds of eye contact with Emma without panic. Jataro managed 15 seconds before having to look away, overwhelmed. Caldra hit 45 and declared it the most exhausting experience of her academic career. It shouldn't be this hard to acknowledge another being's existence, she muttered. It's hard because you've trained yourselves out of it, Emma said. But the capacity is there. You felt it today. You can't unfeel it now. She was right. Zilax knew he'd never experience the world the same way again. The academy halls, previously just corridors to navigate efficiently, now held individuals with inner lives as complex as his own. The cafeteria staff weren't just service functionaries, they were people doing difficult work to keep the academy running. Even Jotaro, terrifying Admiral Jotaro, was revealed as someone carrying decades of suppressed grief over soldiers lost and never properly mourned. The emergency council session convened that evening. Emma was asked to testify. She stood before representatives from 47 species, most of whom carefully avoided looking directly at her. Humanity requests clarification. Ambassador Talana began formally. Are human ocular contact patterns to be classified as psychological warfare? Emma took a deep breath. No, human eye contact is social bonding behavior. It's how we express trust, attention, and care. If that causes you distress, it's because your species has systematically removed those expressions from your cultural framework. That's not our problem to fix by hiding ourselves. That's your problem to fix by facing it. You're asking us to restructure our entire civilization, Talana said. I'm asking you to remember that you're alive, Emma corrected, and that everyone around you is also alive and that maybe, possibly, that should matter to you. The council chamber erupted in debate. Some demanded humans be restricted to visual barriers at all times. Others argued for segregated facilities. A few, a very few, suggested Emma's approach. Jotaro stood. His uniform was rumpled, his eyes still red, but his voice was clear. I vote for integration training. Mandatory eye contact desensitization for all military personnel, starting with senior command. That's career suicide, Vex Thul hissed. Maybe, Jotaro agreed. But I've spent 40 years climbing a career ladder built on emotional suppression, and I just discovered it was hollow all the way up. I'd rather fall honestly than stand on lies. The vote was closer than it should have been, but it passed. Within one standard month, Emma Johnson went from literature teacher to director of interspecies empathy training. Her first class had 300 volunteers and a waiting list of 4,000. Her curriculum was simple. Learn to look at each other. Learn to see each other. Learn that connection isn't weakness. Zilax became her teaching assistant. On his first day, helping set up the classroom, Emma asked him to maintain eye contact for a full minute while telling her about his family. He made it 40 seconds before tearing up, but he finished. And when he was done, Emma smiled and said, "Thank you for trusting me with that." "Thank you for seeing me," he replied. 6 months later, the Academy's mental health statistics had improved by 34%. Retention rates were up 28%, and Jotaro personally apologized to every soldier he'd ever commanded, looking each one in the eyes as he did it. Emma was grading papers in her new office when Zilax knocked. "Dr. Johnson, we have another batch of volunteers for advanced eye contact training." "How many?" "All of them, every cadet in the academy." Emma set down her red pen and laughed. "Remember when this job was just teaching poetry?" "You're still teaching poetry," Zilax said, meeting her eyes steadily now, comfortably. "Just a different kind, the poetry of being seen." "That's surprisingly profound for a military cadet." "I learned from the best." He grinned, another human expression he'd adopted. "So should I send them in?" Emma looked at the stack of ungraded papers, then at the line of cadets visible through her office window, then back at Zilax. "Yeah, send them in. Let's teach some people how to be people." As the first group filed into her office, nervous but determined, Emma caught sight of the new sign posted outside the academy's main entrance. It had been updated last week. Previously, "Danger. Human ocular contact may cause psychological damage." Now, "Caution. Prepare for emotional vulnerability. Humans on site." She smiled. It was a start.